What's going on, narrators? Morris is back here, and we have another edition of the Narratives Per Possession podcast. I'm really excited for our guest tonight because I personally, I'm dubbing him the king of all like cool highlight videos. I feel like the stuff that he puts on the timeline right now on the X app, Bird app, it's just refreshing stuff that we need as NBA fans. And so I am honored and privileged tonight to welcome to the stage none other than Mr. Brett Usher. I just had brain free for a second, but when you're old and you got kids like me, that stuff happens. But Brett, welcome to the pod, man.
What's up, man? I appreciate the kind words, and I know how it is with having kids for sure. Yeah. I feel like I'm like half there most of the time, but man, I appreciate you having me on, and I'm definitely hyped to talk some hoops with you, man.
Absolutely, man. I just feel like the thing I'll say just off the gate or off the bat, man, just right out the gate, like I just feel like what I appreciate about what you do with your account and what you're putting out into the world, there's such a purity of basketball with what you do, man. It's just like it's so straightforward, but it's so like there's a depth to it at the same time while it's still simple and just like strictly hoops. So I just wanted to give you that sort of flowers right out the bat, man. And just thank you
for being on. I appreciate it, man. I mean, I really love hoops. I always have. And yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much all it is for me. That's like my only real like motivation or why I post the stuff that I do. I really do love hoops. I've been a hoops junkie since I've been a kid. And I just try to post the things that I find interesting, really, like the things where, if somebody else posted it, I'd be into it. And that's pretty much it. But I'm glad to hear you're feeling it, and I'm glad other people are too. It's been cool. It's been cool. A lot of good positive feedback and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so like I'm excited to have you on because like the theme for tonight I thought is just perfect for like what you do, right? And we've wrapped up the 24-25 NBA regular season. Just had the draft last week. We're in the middle of what I thought honestly was going to be like a real slow free agency, but today it kind of like popped off. It got a little wild today. So a lot of stuff happening today in free agency. Actually, just I'm curious, like any thoughts on like some of the moves that happened today? I mean, definitely like the Bucks did big stuff, but anything else caught your eye today?
I mean, the Dame thing hurts, like just the way that has all gone down. I mean, Dame's my all-time favorite point guard. I've said it many times. I lived in Portland for a long time. I was living there when he was drafted, went to a lot of his games. I followed his whole career. I love his game. I just think he's an awesome dude too. And just to see the way everything's gone down since that trade it's been rough. And what transpired today was just one of the coldest. Usually when I say cold, it's like complimentary, talking about some guy's handle or something, but this is just like straight up cold. I get that it's a business, and that's what the Bucks, want to do, and he's still going to get paid and everything. But that was that one. I'm still digesting that, to be honest. Like I haven't even really thought about like what's next for him, but I know he's gonna come back. He's gonna come back strong, and I hope it's in a good situation. And I had high hopes for the Giannis Dame pairing, and like they certainly showed flashes of what they could be, but it just never really came to fruition. And this was a crazy way for it to end. So yeah, that was a shocker. And then the Miles Turner part of it too was a major shocker. Yeah. I don't think anybody saw that coming after the season they had, and then of all teams to go to the Bucks. That one I'm definitely still processing. As far as other stuff that happened today specifically, I like the Duncan Robinson sign and trade to the Pistons, considering what they lost since last season. The Beasley situation's a whole nother thing. It's unfortunate, upsetting, frankly, and all we can hope is that he's cleared, but it's not good. And so with all the shooting that they lost, it was nice to see them sign one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. And I feel pretty good about them again. So that was nice. But yeah, it's been, I don't know. I don't know if it's been like the craziest free agency ever, but it's been pretty lively the last couple of days. We could definitely talk about it some more if you want. Just kind of some of the winners and losers and stuff. But yeah, the day kind of shook me up. The like what? Like I just was seeing those words like when I got onto Twitter. I was late to it too. I tweeted about that, but
I think I saw that. Yeah, you're like, oh, I just thought this.
Yeah, I went for a little hike without my cell phone, and I came back and opened it up, and it's like they waved Damian. Like what? Like, yeah, crazy.
It was like so. It was like a notch below like how shocked I was with the Luka thing, because the Luka thing. I think that's gonna go. That will go down in history for me. It's like the most shocking thing I've ever seen on the app, because I'm like, this is not real. Because I went to sleep. Like because I'm on the East Coast, so I woke up to the Luka thing, and like my jaw like it cartoon dropped for like 5 minutes. I was just staring at my phone. But with this Dame thing, I was kind of almost there again, because I'm looking at wave and stretch. Nobody's waved. I can't think of the last person who's been stretched in the league.
Yeah, with that much money, like I don't know. It was crazy. That was crazy. So I don't know. I mean, like the Miles Turner, that's a really, really nice addition for them. I think this is the story with a lot of teams. It's pretty obvious. Like the East is as wide open as it's ever been with the Halliburton injury and the Tatum injury. And these teams are kind of going for it. And the Bucks are like, we want to win next year, I guess. And Dame's not going to be healthy, right? So that's a very nice get for them. I don't know about the rest of their roster right now. It looks a little shaky, but Miles is a really nice get for them. But it's just crazy. It came at that price. Like,
I think it's, Lillard, man. Yeah, it's unfortunate. My gut, I think when they acquired Dame was, I thought that was, it was a good like opportunity to start something different with the Bucks, but it certainly wasn't the starting in the beginning of like whatever they're trying to go after next. Because I think the big thing about like you look at the Bucks, I mean, their identity is defense first. It always has been as long as they've had Giannis. And like I was looking for them to like, I just always felt like they needed at least one additional wing stopper. You lose like an all-world defender in Drew Holiday, like somebody's got to pick up that slack on the defensive end. And it just seems like they never found that answer.
Yeah, especially with Brook Lopez. Like he's still a very formidable rim presence, but certainly his defense has tailed off a little bit since a couple years ago. Yeah, they're but hey, man, I mean, again, the East is wide open, and who knows, they might be in play, as like a top 3 seed, even, who knows. But yeah, we saw like, to just stick on free agency for a second, like what Atlanta has done. I think if you had to pick like a big winner of free agency, like I'd say they're certainly among the top 2 or 3 so far. Bringing in Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Luke Kennard, and then the trade for Porzingis, like they're loading up. They're operating like a team that thinks they have a chance to win the East, and rightly so. And I think Orlando probably sees an opportunity. They bringing in Desmond Bane, and not to say these teams wouldn't have made these moves if the status quo had kind of remained the same, but I think that just further sort of motivated them to really load up and like, hey, we could really do something this next season. And again, the other side of it is very unfortunate with the 3 Achilles to superstars in a single playoffs. Like, just it's unimaginable. But I think it does open up some opportunity.
Absolutely, and specifically with the Eastern Conference, it seems like there certainly has been a benchmark that's been set now. Going really back to last offseason, right? Because the arms race in the East is just being constant. I mean, we certainly saw the payoff of what it did going back to last offseason when the Knicks loaded up with, Bridges. They go get Cat. And even the Pacers too. Like, I mean, really the big move obviously was getting Siakam in last season's trade deadline, but having that offseason for that team to gel together the way they did, I don't think anybody – certainly people would have expected the Knicks to have the trajectory they had, but the Pacers was just like a real dominant run. They kind of flew under the radar a bit. So I think it's it's not surprising to see, the Magics and the Hawks of the East. And, perhaps there'll be some more moves before this is all said and done, where like, I think the East, the mandate is like, let's load up and let's see what we can do, because there is no clear dominant, there's no dynasty anymore in the East.
Nah, I think the Cavs are and should be the favorite to win the East right now. But like they lost to Indy and they were banged up. Like, but this happens. And so yeah, I think a lot of teams probably feel like they got a chance. Like even Detroit, who I just mentioned, like, hey, like we just had a great season. We had a very competitive series against the Knicks. Like maybe we can do something. And like, I don't know. They haven't had the craziest offseason, but like I think they've made pretty solid moves. The Beasley thing was definitely like a monkey wrench, but they're doing I think they're going to be solid too. So yeah, like you could name off quite a few teams that could make some noise, and that's kind of I guess the silver lining of the injuries. Like not that there even is one, but it's going to be a fun season for a couple of these teams because they might have a chance, where they maybe otherwise wouldn't if the Celtics were at full strength and the Pacers were coming back at full strength and it was still Dame and Giannis, and who knows about the Sixers with Embiid's health's another question mark. So yeah, the East is kind of wild right now. Like I'm tempted to like I'd say Atlanta's like maybe going to be a top 3 team. Like they're who knows? Like they're right there, but it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun to watch.
I'm deeply intrigued by Atlanta because in a lot of ways, I tweeted this last night. I think, like we collectively as an NBA community, I think we have to talk about how like Atlanta's coming out of the other side of what pretty much has been like a perpetual rebuilding kind of like it's been ebbs and flows of like it looked like they were finally going to get to something, but it didn't pan out. I mean, they had like the DeJounte thing that didn't work out. I'm thinking about like AJ Griffin, like that was a pick they had like some high hopes for, and he didn't pan out. Like this just been all these different things, and then at one point, like it just seemed like a generally accepted thing that like at some point Trae Young was going to get dealt, but now like it looks like a really solid roster around Trae, and I mean Trae's still solid, like he can give you offensive juice at like all NBA levels when he's locked in. So I'm with you. I think you have to look at the Hawks as like early favorites to contend for the East.
Yeah, like with Trae, as has been talked about a lot, like he's a guy that you have to build around very specifically. That's kind of the challenge with him. And it's like a good challenge to have because he's such a great player. But I think when you have to construct a roster like in a pretty specific way to optimize a star player like that, I think it can just take more time. And that's kind of what we've seen is like a little bit of trial and error and things just running their course. And I really feel like if you're going to build an optimal roster around Trae, like this is kind of it, like what they're doing now. Like you're surrounding him with a lot of shooting, a lot of athleticism, length, and probably most importantly, defense. Like I think this is going to be a top 10 defensive team in the league next year. When you look at Dyson and Nikhil, just those two out on the perimeter are just going to be some hounds. And Jalen Johnson and Okongwu and Porzingis with his rim protection, they've got some nice defensive pieces. So like if you have a top 10 defense with Trae Young as the engine of your offense, like I think you're in a pretty good spot. And they've got a squad, man. I think they're doing it right. So it's taken some time, but I'm glad that they've stuck with Trae because I know even last year there was some talk about like who do you move, Trae or DeJounte, and like I thought that was kind of silly. Like Trae Youngs don't grow on trees, man. Trae Young doesn't come around every day. Like for all his flaws or like his defensive shortcomings, and sort of his unique play style, like he's very special. And I think that guy with the right roster around him, that could be scary. So you never know, but I feel really good about them going into next season. And I think if I had to pick a winner of this offseason so far, they're right there, probably like top 2, I guess, them in Houston.
Yeah, Houston. And I mean, we talk so much about the East. I mean, I think the West equally. There's been some dynamic shifts for sure in the Western Conference just from these first 2 days of the free agency period. Certainly Houston getting KD, and then I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Dorian
Yeah,
Finney-Smith
Dorian Finney.
and Capella. Those were the
Yeah.
three. Yeah.
So like good depth that they've had there, but I mean, for me, I think in the West, I've really been sort of like enamored with everything that the Denver Nuggets have done. Like,
yeah,
if I was a Nuggets fan, like I would be so deep into like meathead, like Denver's back, like just to go from Cam Johnson to then they go bring back Bruce Brown, and then they go get what did they get today?
They got Jonas
And then
Valanciunas.
you get Valanciunas. Yeah, like I mean, they've really been getting after it with this free agency. Like,
and
I
they
mean,
got Tim Hardaway Jr. too.
Tim Hardaway
So
Jr.
they added
also
shooting. Like, yeah, I mean, I definitely think they got better. You know, assuming the guys from this past season's team are, you know, as good or better, which is a reasonable expectation. You know, none of them are that old or anything like their main guys. So yeah, they're going to be tough. But yeah, I really like the Cam John. I was wondering where he was going to go. Before the trade deadline, I remember tweeting, "Don't let a contender get their hands on Cam Johnson," because like he's that type of dude that can make a big difference. And it happened in the offseason, and it came at the expense of Michael Porter Jr. But I really think he's probably a better fit than MPJ was for them. Probably a comparable player overall, but I really like that move a lot. And then Valanciunas as your backup 5, and then Bruce Brown, like I almost kind of forgot about. Like I feel like he hasn't played in forever, and I know he was with Toronto, and sometimes I kind of like accidentally like just like forget about the Raptors. I don't know why. Maybe it's maybe it's the geography, but yeah, like if he could be the guy he was for them, you know, the title year, then that's obviously huge. And then Tim Hardaway's a great shooter, which who doesn't need more shooting? And that's, I think, certainly something that the Nuggets could use. So like I mentioned Atlanta and Houston. Denver would be my third big winner of the offseason. I think that's probably something that those top three that most people would kind of agree on right now. Like they kind of, I think that's probably a pretty common opinion, but yeah, I'd be very hyped if I was a Denver fan for sure. I think they got better.
Yeah, and it's amazing when you realize that only like 4 or 5 months ago they looked like they were in complete turmoil, and like you would question like, are they going to flame out in the first round or something? Like, you know, get rid of your head coach. Yeah, it was like 2 weeks before the playoffs started to get rid of Mike Malone, to get rid of Calvin Booth, and it's kind of like, wow, like you guys just like you're just gonna punt this playoffs, right? And then what's crazy is like, you know, they took the world champs to 7 games. So like, I if I had to think about it right now, I feel like, no disrespect to the Thunder, but like a Houston Nuggets Western Conference Finals is like what I'm thinking about at this moment right now, because it's just like that's just the power of Joker to me. And then KD plugged into like a solid defense. Like those are gonna be tough things.
Yeah, Houston's gonna be scary, man. They're gonna be absolute hell to play against. Just like, yeah, it's been because they brought in obviously KD and DFS and Capella, who's going to be like their third string center, which is like a pretty nice luxury to have, where you can just sort of do a timeshare probably between Adams and Capella in the backup minutes, and all kinds of double big configurations and small whatever. They have so much lineup versatility. But then they also, they extended Van Vliet, they extended Jabari Smith Jr., they extended Steven Adams. So like they're moving like a contender, and as they should be, because they're in that mix for sure. Like I feel like OKC is a strong threat to repeat. And I know we say this about teams most years after they win the finals, and a lot of times it doesn't happen, obviously, especially in this day and age where it's just increasingly tough to repeat. But to me, they're the clear favorites, but like Denver and Houston are right there in the kind of next tier for me. And yeah, Denver's always just going to be an absolute monster with Nikola, with a squad around him. So you can just never count them out. They easily could have beaten OKC this year, and if they had done that, they probably win another title. So yeah, they're gonna be right there too. But yeah, these teams are, they're moving aggressively, and I love to see it.
Absolutely. And I don't think you can fault the teams making these aggressive moves because this is a good segue into, let's talk about the actual NBA finals we just
Yeah.
witnessed. I thought it was one of the best NBA finals I've seen in probably like what I would say easily since like what that 16 finals,
Yeah.
the come behind miracle that the Cavaliers pulled together. It was just like every single game was like you just felt like you were getting maximum effort from both squads, all 4 quarters. And I mean they were nail biters. I guess like broadly, I'll just to like toss it to you and frame it for you. Like, what were the things that you enjoyed about the finals that maybe like perhaps might flew under the radar certain eyes, but like for you, like these were like just awesome things that you were enjoying through that series.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot. I agree. It's one of the best finals that I've watched for sure. And not just because it went 7 games, but I think just because of the nature of the matchup and the contrast of styles and all that. And that's obviously been talked about a lot. But just like, in terms of things that maybe haven't been talked about, like just specific things like, because like, you can't talk about the finals without the Halliburton injury. And like, I mean, that it sucks. It was absolutely brutal. And like, I think with that, just to touch on it, like, there's probably just a fine line where like, you can acknowledge that, and it's a what if. That's what it is. Like, because if he doesn't go down, like, what if he doesn't get hurt? Like, he was on fire, and like, it felt like they had a real chance to win. And who knows? We'll never know. But like, I think you need to be able to acknowledge that while also not taking anything away from the Thunder, because they won 68 games, one of the best defenses in NBA history, just a fabulous season. And they're one of the youngest teams. I think they were like one of the 3 youngest teams in the league this year or something like that. So like,
Yeah.
just truly remarkable. So it's like, I think there's a way to sort of acknowledge the Halliburton injury without, but it was tough. And I know like I know for like the broadcast and like the media people covering the game and the series during that game 7 and after the game 7, like that was probably a tough line to walk, because it's such a major thing. And just, it was shocking. It was just, man, like it's still like when I think about it, it kind of like I get sick about it. Like after that magical run, for it to sort of end like that for him and for the Pacers, it sucks. But like you don't want to take anything away from the Thunder, and who knows, like they might have still, I think there's a good chance they still would have won that game. So that's the stuff you kind of like, that's been talked about and you can't really look past. But just in terms of like smaller kind of specific little storylines in the series, like I thought Chet's defense was something that maybe didn't get brought up quite enough. I think that his offensive numbers weren't spectacular, certainly in the finals. And I think sometimes that sort of dictates the narrative. But his defense was so good, man. He's one of the best rim protectors I've ever seen. His technique is pretty much flawless. And I thought he was really outstanding on that end in the finals. And that probably went under discussed. I think Shea's playmaking in game 7 really jumped out to me. Like, it's been talked about, but like that, it might have been the best playmaking game of his career. And he did it in game 7 of his first finals. And that was so huge. And I think so many people got hung up on the, whatever it was, 8 of 27 shooting. People were really trying to say he like had a bad game, but I don't think anybody that knows ball that watched it would have said that. Like, the reads he was making, the way he was finding shooters, and just so many great passes that game. So I think that he deserves a lot of credit for that. And then like on the Indiana side, like I thought it was cool seeing TJ McConnell like kind of get his flowers. I don't know if he's got enough flowers yet, man, because that guy's been just awesome for quite a few years now. And he finally got a chance to really show it like on a national stage. And I thought he was awesome for the most part in that series. That guy's a problem, in his own way. Like
Absolutely.
as much as a backup point guard, however tall he is, and the not athletic and all that. Like he finds a way to be a problem, and I think people finally kind of got to see that. So that was really cool for me to see. But and I mean, there's a lot of directions we go on that. But in terms of like, stuff that hasn't been talked about enough, I'd probably go with that. And then just like, I guess just also like just how scary the Thunder are. Like when you consider how young they are and the fact that they just won 68 games and got a title. Like it's a small handful of teams in NBA history that have won 68 and won the chip as well. And they just did that with one of the youngest teams in the league. And like they're positioned to be pretty formidable for the foreseeable future. And like, of course, we never know. Like, we could have said that about the Celtics last year. Like you never know what's going to happen. But this team is primed for a pretty nice run. Like I was just saying how hard it is to repeat or three-peat, in this day and age. But like, if a team was going to do it, it's them for sure. They're positioned to do it. So I think just like, I don't know if just kind of like the magnitude of what they could be going forward has really like hit people yet. So yeah, it's been fun to see their growth. And this was kind of like the culmination, at least so far. Like I was following them when they were winning, 20 something games. It's kind of when I sort of tapped into that team really. And it's been fun to watch them like the last 3-4 years and Shea's ascension and all that. Just the smart drafting and the smart moves and it all paid off. And they might just keep going.
Yeah. And the Thunder's progression to like, reaching the very top of the league, it almost feels like it's been counterintuitive because like for all like everybody talks about how many picks the Thunder have, and they've been really disciplined and sort of resisting that urge to do a big splashy move or like cashing out the chips, so to speak. And it's like they have been extremely like successful in just hitting on all these draft picks, but also never becoming like too attached to any of the draft picks either. I mean, they make the deal last off season, send Josh Giddey to Chicago and get Alex Caruso, which obviously was like a masterpiece of a trade for them in terms of like just the impact that Caruso delivered. I mean, they have Topic sitting there. Like we haven't even seen what they will look like with Topic next season. And they go and get sober, right? And there's just so much. I think if any team has the infrastructure to be a repeat or create dynasty in this era of the NBA, it probably is Oklahoma City, just because they're just extremely efficient with their draft process, and they are also, I think, best suited in this new CBA kind of environment also, where it's like they obviously don't have to worry about the tax or the aprons or anything like that anytime soon.
Yeah, they'll certainly face some roster challenges in the coming years, but if you have those core couple of guys and just you kind of keep drafting well and making smart moves and adding nice guys around the margins, like you can keep this going. Like if there's a way to keep it going like that in this era with the way it's structured now, like I think they're probably they probably do their best to do it. So yeah, they're it's beyond impressive. Like I don't know if any team's ever been in like a better position. And like I would have said that a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago. Like they set themselves up so well. I mean, Presti is as smart as it gets. Like he might go down as the GOAT,
Yeah,
who knows? Like he's in that conversation already, probably.
Certainly in terms of front office executive. It's probably at this point neck and neck between him and Brad Stevens, because I think Brad Stevens' moves ever since he took over the front office, I can't think of a single Brad Stevens move where he's like missed at this point. Certainly, they have some challenges to navigate with Tatum being out, but when I think of like front office excellence or the standard bearers of that right now in the NBA, certainly Presti without question, but Brad Stevens is probably close. But then just the other point I wanted to make too about like, why I think Oklahoma City is so well positioned. If there is going to be a repeat, it's probably them. We can't forget that, not this past season, but the previous season had an incredible run, incredible tear of a regular season as well. I mean, that was a 57 win team. Obviously they got, stuck in the second round, but it's just, I think it's just that methodical process of Sam Presti where he was able to sort of like diagnose the situation, make the necessary margin moves he made, and he finally got over that hump. So that's, I think he's got a lot of, just like infrastructure in place to
I
where,
think like, I think just like
happen.
on the note of team building and getting back to the finals too, like I think that's going to be another like big broad takeaway from this finals too. Not that it wasn't necessarily already obvious, but like that probably just kind of reinforced it. But in terms of team building, just like having depth, like both of those teams were going 9 deep comfortably in the playoffs. Like I think they both had 9 guys play all 7 games in the finals. Which is kind of crazy. And then just not just the depth, but then the just how close they all seem to be as teammates. And it's weird saying it about the Pacers now. I still can't believe Miles Turner left, but like that was their identity, and it's definitely the Thunder's identity. Like if there's one thing I'll remember about this Thunder team, whether it's just this season or they go on to repeat or three-peat or whatever, dynasty, whatever it ends up being, I think at least from this season, the thing I'll always remember is just like the close-knit nature of that group. Like they're homies. Like they're, like you see it, like it's just in their interviews and the way they talk about each other and the way they interact. Like they're as like close in those terms as any team I've seen. And I just think that was such a big part of getting them to this point. And I feel the same way about Indiana too. Like I think that there's a chemistry that goes beyond just what you see on the court, just beyond like pick and rolls and whatever, like where it's like, and I think Indiana had that too. And I think we saw they're similar but different, like in terms of the Thunder are this elite defense and a very good offense. Indiana's this elite offense and a respectable defense. But I think it's just the depth and that chemistry, both on court and off, that really propelled them to where they are. Because I don't think anybody, as you touched on earlier, thought Indiana was going to do this. Like they got off to a very slow start this season. They were sub 500 through however many games, I think maybe into December. And I think people just kind of wrote them off, and then they started playing better after the new year and kind of just got slept on that whole time. And then in the playoffs, I think we just kind of saw them, come together, play their best basketball, but like they had sort of been building toward this. And it's just cool to see that sort of that unselfishness pay off in such a big way. And I think we saw 2 examples of that going head to head in the finals. And that was really cool. And I think that's going to have an impact on other teams and their team building going forward. I think, again, when you look at what Atlanta's doing, what Houston's doing, like Atlanta looks really deep now. Houston's this really deep team. And it's like, and it looks like the pieces fit. Like they're not just bringing in, trying to pair stars or whatever. It's like, they're really, I think teams are getting a lot smarter. And I just think that, this finals probably reinforced a lot of that thinking, going forward.
Yeah. And, one thing I'll add too, I think we really witnessed a generational shift in terms of like what sort of style of NBA basketball we're in now, where I don't want to necessarily eulogize the Golden State Warriors quite yet. I mean, they could do some things. Yeah, they still have Steph Curry. They can surprise us next season. But like, I think the that period of time where it's like Warriors, like small ball, so to speak, and just like the emphasis on 3-point shooting, it just that really wasn't the dominating advantage in this finals. Rather, we saw like just almost like a relentless commitment to attacking the rim from both squads. And in a lot of ways, I think that for me, that would be like my underappreciated thing. I don't think there's enough pointed. I don't think there's enough credit given to the ability of the Pacers to be willing to attack the rim in the half court as much as like they have their reputation for being like this fast running gun team pushing it in transition. Like Siakam gets buckets, and in a lot of ways, like I wasn't quite ready to throw in the towel in Game 7 when Hallie went down because like Siakam could still go get the tough buckets you need in a situation like that. And I think that's where to the point of like being like building cohesive teams and having depth, like to be an effective half court team, like that you can't really freelance that and just shoot your way through that. Like you do have to have some camaraderie and some chemistry together, and it showed in those two squads, the Pacers and OKC. Right?
Like, OKC didn't even shoot it well in the play. You know what I mean? I don't know what their 3-point percentage was in the playoffs. I don't have it in front of me, but I know it wasn't great, and they just won a title, shooting it pretty poorly, I'd say, by their standards in the playoffs. And it's your point. A lot of that was just their bread and butter, man. That driving to the rack, like I love that stuff, man. And on the Pacers side, Siakam and Halliburton's a really underrated driver too. Like, I mean, we obviously saw it against Milwaukee, but like just how tough he is going right. He's an underrated driver too, man. And that was kind of the bread and butter. But yeah, it was kind of cool to see a team that wasn't just like lights out from three win it. It would have been, I don't know what it would have said about the state of the game if a team that was, taking 55 threes a game won the title this year. But yeah, it was cool to see that, like, on the strength of their defense and the rim pressure that they can apply, they still got it done despite like subpar shooting.
Yeah, and just to bring that to the point you just made. So for the 2025 NBA playoffs, your world champion Oklahoma City Thunder shot 33.8% from three. Yeah. So that's like insane, honestly. They shot that and they won the title. So I just think like we are witnessing a generational shift in terms of the dynamics of like what is competitive advantage in NBA basketball right now.
Yeah, like I think it certainly can be the three, but like I don't know. I think this just at the very least shows that there's other avenues, because that narrative of like all they do is shoot threes now, talking about the whole league became pretty pervasive. Like I really think that that people watch that and not that teams don't shoot a ton of threes now, they do, I get it, but like that, if you remember the first game of the season, right, it was Knicks Celtics, and the Celtics took like, I think they set the record or something for 3-point attempts. Like it was all they were doing, and I think that just stuck with people the whole season. And a lot of more like, casual people were like, all they do now in the NBA is shoot threes. And it's like, if you watch the whole league, man, there's a lot of different styles, and you just kind of lean into your own thing, and it can really pay off. And we definitely saw that with OKC. Like I feel like they won that title on defense, like that. Oh, and that was cool to see, that's that defense. I think it's the best of the modern era. Like, I know it's kind of a bold statement, but you can't compare it to like, teams from the 60s, 70s, whatever. But like, at least since I've been watching basketball, like, I don't know, man, might be the best I've seen. Certainly like the most striking, just with like the chaos they cause and the turnovers that they force and the way they play defense and they're really something, man.
It's kind of, I would almost like offer this analogy. It's kind of like what OKC's defense brought to the table. It's almost kind of like a seesaw effect of, when the Golden State Warriors found the advantage and the efficiency they had with three-point shooting, in the league kind of caught on and started mimicking that. It's like OKC made the seesaw fall, like go in the opposite direction, where they put so much emphasis on having like this, like just outright violent perimeter defense, just being
bringing in Caruso was like overkill. It was like you already have like Dort and the case of Wallace and Shea, like you already have this Jalen Williams, Shea, this crazy defensive team, and it's like, let's just add Alex Caruso to the mix and see what happens. And boom. Like, yeah, I love that I love the way they defend. I love the way they lean into it. I love the way they constructed their roster
Yeah.
accordingly.
Yeah, and really red lines to some degrees. Like the amount of ball pressure they gamble to some degrees with that, but it works. Like you can't like it's risky, but like they pull it off and they have the right personnel to do it. So I think that's yeah, it's their defense
Yeah.
it's perfectly suited for 2025 basketball.
And so
NBA
when people
basketball.
say, "Oh, they don't play any defense in the NBA," like, you hear casual people or people who hate the NBA will say that, and it's like the team that just won the title did it with defense. So let's put that to bed. Like, if you want to nitpick like the worst teams in the league or like certain players maybe don't, okay, but like to just make that blanket statement that they don't defend in the NBA, like I just think that is it's just such a dead giveaway that like you either don't watch or you don't know what you're watching because like they do.
Yeah, I have a bias towards the defensive side. I just have always loved the defensive side of basketball, and like I've enjoyed this evolution of like what defense is because it's so much more nuanced, it's so much more sophisticated than like what
Yeah.
NBA defense was 30 years ago. And that's not to say that I don't like I love 90s basketball, but I've never been a person where it's like I feel the need to have these intergenerational debates. And I always like this is why I created narratives per possession is I feel like there's so much nuance in basketball discourse right now that just gets lost, and we should be willing to get into possession by possession conversation, so to speak, about these different narratives and look at like why do these things exist the way they do. Like NBA defense right now is very much there's so much defense in there, but it's different because it's not like nearly 1% man to man defense. Like there's no illegal defense anymore. Like you have to make all these trade-offs and all these decisions in your defensive scheme now, where it's like for some reason that doesn't resonate with people who maybe don't watch every single game on League Pass. But that's what I like about today's defense.
Yeah.
There's so much decision making, so much like strategizing that you have to make about like how are you going to do this coverage?
Yeah, no, it's gotten so advanced and complex. Like I can't keep up with the nuances of it. I'm glad there are a lot of like, really smart people that cover this stuff and break it down. And but I recognize it when I see it for sure. And like, yeah, it's just like how do you really compare it to like it's just a different game than it was in the 90s. And that's just I think that's how I look at it. Is just like it's a totally different game. So like how do you really compare anything? Like the game was so much different. Like there was some like the Bulls teams of the 90s, the Pistons teams, like there were these great defensive teams, but they were playing against a completely different style of offense, completely different style of basketball. So like, it's just I just think they were great. The Thunder are great. They're great within their era, and the eras are different, and it's constantly evolving. And the defense versus offense is always going to be this back and forth, one trying to get ahead of the other. And it's really fun to watch. And I would never take anything away from a previous era. I mean, I love basketball now, probably more than I ever have. But that's just like personal preference. And like, I don't knock people for saying they liked it better in the 90s. It's like, cool, you like the different style of basketball. There's nothing wrong with that. And I don't know why there's so much back and forth with this online, like so many arguments online about like trying to compare a guy now to a guy 30, 40 years ago. Like what are we even doing? Like, can't we just keep this like relativity in mind when it comes to these different eras? Like, I don't know. I try not to even ever get caught up in that stuff because a lot of it's just so silly to me. Like,
yeah, and I think this is so this is probably a good segue into like, again, like, I mentioned right off the top, like what I love about your account is like what you do with your videos. I think it's just like, it's a necessary service and mission for basketball right now. It's like just the simplicity of like, the videos you put out will just be like, I'm just going to pick a random player. Like I'm like, this is Cade Cunningham. Yeah, actually, I might have Cade Cunningham. I do want to share some of your videos actually, but I might have been watching one you did on Cade Cunningham. That comes to mind. But like, you'll just do like, oh, this is so-and-so doing a sham god. Like I love that. And it's just like these, like you're putting out things where it's like, we're not getting into debates about this. This is just like, this is what it is. watch this, absorb this, like enjoy this. Like that's what I like about what you do with your videos. I guess can you touch on a little bit about like just the whole like creative process behind that, how you got to like where you just basically started doing mixtapes for like current NBA and even past NBA.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've definitely like I've gotten to the point where like I find it's best to just put the video out there. There's always a reason for me posting it, right? Like it's a player that I find interesting or promising or an individual skill that maybe people don't know about or whatever, but I don't like in terms of like a caption or like I don't want to like say hey, and try to like necessarily give my opinion on it. Like I kind of want the video to speak for itself. And like, it's highlights mostly. So like it goes without saying, like I'm showing you the best of whatever I'm trying to show you. But yeah, I don't really want to like kind of like inject my own opinion into everything necessarily. So like, yeah, I want people to be able to like watch the video and take away what they're going to take away from it. But yeah, I try to just, I try to highlight sort of under the radar players a lot of the time where like, it's hard to keep up with the whole league. It really is. It's hard to follow the whole league. And I do my best to do that, but I know that a lot of people kind of just watch their team or, their handful of games. It's tough to find the time to really like lock into the whole league. So I feel like there's a lot of guys that people probably haven't really seen. And like, I'll post a highlight video to just kind of put them on. And then yeah, when it comes to like the sham gods or whatever, like these kind of individual moves, I mean overall I like to highlight what players do well. That's like my kind of overarching thing I think with the videos is like, what does this guy do well? And I want to show that. Like take Stephon Castle for example, right? Rookie of the year. I posted quite a few videos on him. I'm a big fan of his game. I like him a lot. But like, I'm not going to post a Stephon Castle video with some made threes in it because like he does not shoot the ball well yet, especially from three, really from probably mid-range either. But he's fantastic getting downhill, physical drives, decels, crossovers, finishing through contact. Like that's the stuff he does well. That's what I'm going to show you from Stephon Castle. And like, you go down the list with anything. And that's really all I'm trying to show is like, what do these guys do well? And like, we can talk about what they don't do well, but I think there's a lot of people on social media doing that already. There's a lot of, and that's fine. Like that stuff all has its place. But for me, I kind of show the positive and just highlight their best skills. And like, and yeah, I'll get like specific with stuff too, like whether it's like I don't know, like a Donovan Mitchell high pickups or Jalen Brunson low pickups or
then we're gonna bub. You get this.
What we got here?
Bub Carrington mid range.
Yeah. Again, that's like he shot the three all right. He didn't finish at the rim great, but he was an elite mid range shooter as a rookie. So this is a good example. Like, I just want to show that the real exciting skill that he has right now that's already translated to the NBA. Yeah, this is cone work, man. This is drill work. This is reps. Like you're seeing it. This is a coach's son. Like you see him get into his spots. Like, so yeah, this is a great example. Very high on this kid. I'd like to, he's got to flesh out his offensive game a little bit, but like this is a really nice foundation. Like you do not see a lot of rookies operating in the mid range like this, shooting at the efficiency that he did. So yeah, that was a cool one. I'm hyped for Bub for sure. But yeah, like so yeah, I probably gravitate toward young players more like that. The potential, that intrigue is always something for me. Where like that's what could this turn into? Like, what could he be? Like, I go with that a lot. I'll still do like, videos on superstars like SGA or Tatum, whatever, but I try to mix in quite a lot of like under the radar guys or rookies. And, I think a lot of times when I post a video of a guy, people will assume I'm trying to say he's like a future star or like a great player. And it's like, no, not necessarily. Like, I'm just showing you this fun thing he does well. And I'm assuming if you're interested in the guy, like, you're going to look into it a little bit more and be like, oh, well, he needs to improve his rim finishing, or, oh, he's got to keep his turnovers down. Like, none of these guys are perfect, especially the sort of under the radar dudes. But yeah. And you said, like, it's simple. And I do really try to keep the videos simple. Like, I just want it to look like how it looks when you're watching a game. I just get those clips, and I do put a lot of thought into the how I arrange them, like the order of them. Like, none of it is random. I put thought into every single video in terms of the order, and just even little things like where one clip ends, like where the ball ends up at the end of that clip. I try to have the next clip start at that same spot. I have them all cropped ahead of time, but sometimes I'll arrange them like that so that your eye is on that spot already, and you can just kind of flow into the next one. And so, they look real simple and basic, and that's kind of what I want. I want to look how you see it when you're watching a game, because there's some content creators out there, just very talented editors that make these absolutely sick edits. My stuff just looks more like game film, but I'm glad people are feeling it. Like, it's been cool. Yeah, and I really enjoy making them, man. They take some time to make, especially the longer ones. People might not realize how much time some of these take to make. It's hours. Some of them. I mean, it's a single game highlights. I could probably put together in 15 minutes, maybe less. I did like Jake LaRavia's Kings highlights yesterday because somebody requested it. Like, that was only 19 games or whatever. That was pretty quick. But like, if I'm doing a whole season of a guy that takes a lot of shots or gets a lot of assists, let alone, a multi-season thing, that can be hours. But, making it's fun because you're just watching hoops. You're just watching clips. You're watching buckets. You're watching whatever you're looking for. And I enjoy that. And I enjoy kind of selecting things that illustrate what I'm trying to highlight. And it's a process, and there's not a ton of reward in terms of money, but I really do enjoy doing it. And it's very rewarding just when people enjoy it or get something out of it, or somebody DMs me and says, hey, I added that move to my bag, thanks to your video, or like, I didn't know about that dude, or I didn't know he could do that, or like that's all very rewarding. So yeah, it's been fun. It's kind of a lane I didn't think I would fall into on Twitter, but here we are.
Yeah, I have my own journey, honestly, even getting to this point where I'm doing this thing right now, talking to you. But I think that's the beauty of Twitter and just the basketball community at large, is that there's so many people where it's like, if you're genuine and you're authentic and you're putting in the effort, which obviously people see that in your videos, like, people will rock with you and people will support you and keep like really encouraging you to go forward. So, I mean, clearly, like, I think that's a big part of what you've done. And then, before we got started, right, you mentioned that, like, there's also some writing that you do, right?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I would say I'm a writer at heart. I mean, I've always loved to write, like, all through school, and just for years, just for fun, I would write. And I've done, I've got a few things out there, but not something I've ever really like done professionally. Always just kind of more of a hobby, and I still want to do it. I'm going to, definitely explore some avenues to get some of my writing out there. I haven't done it in a minute. It's probably been, I don't know, maybe 2 years since I've written like something long. So I want to get back into that more, but that's definitely who I am at heart, I would say. So I don't know. It's just the landscape, of NBA media, NBA coverage, NBA, everything changes so fast. And like, I think I just need to find the right lane, as a writer, whatever that might look like. Maybe it's not what I thought it was going to look like, 5 years ago or something. It might be different. And I just it's kind of on me to keep up with that evolution. And see where I fit in with that. I love making the videos. I'm gonna keep doing it, and I love tweeting and live tweeting games and all that stuff. But but I do have this sort of itch to get back into writing. And I don't know what it's going to look like, because I was pretty much not on Twitter, like the last time I was really writing, I wasn't on Twitter. And so then I've had a couple years like on Twitter every day. And I'm like, I wonder if it made me a better writer or worse. Probably more concise, probably more to the point, but I need to write something and find out. And if and when I do, I'll certainly share it on that platform. See what people think.
Yeah, you should. I consider myself fundamentally a writer as well. I mean, in podcasting now, this is like a new experiment for me. I started off actually just tweeting. When I'm not talking on Narratives per Possession, I'm a lifelong Bulls fan, and I actually just started off tweeting and live tweeting like Bulls games. And then slowly but surely worked my way up and like did some guest blogs. I was doing Bulls coverage for a website for a year and a half. Shout out to Bulls on Tap. You can go find me, Google me out there for stuff I've written for them. But yeah, I mean, I say all that, like the writing space is definitely there. And we have a weekly newsletter for Narratives per Possession too that I push out on Patreon. So Patreon, a Substack, man. There's a lot of options out there for you. So you can definitely like get something going. And
yeah, I need to do that, man. I need to do that. I can't I can't let that go. I was just thinking about that. That's why it's like on my mind. I was like, man, like one day I just stopped writing. Like what? We'll get back into it. I'll write, I'll write my little 100-character tweets, but yeah, you can get a lot more in depth, obviously, with some longer. And there's so many great writers out there too, that I could use this kind of inspiration. Like these guys are doing it. So it's kind of a goal, is to get back into that a little bit more. But yeah, it's been Threads, a wild journey, man. Is Threads where it's at?
Well, not the app, but I was just gonna say like how I ended up
on Twitter.
Yeah, that's how I made the leap from going to just like, I'm gonna get this start off about like what I just saw in this 160 characters. Like when I started live tweeting Bulls games, I live tweeted them in a thread. So actually, I'm not trying to be hipster about it, but like, when I started doing that, I think this was before like like the dunker spot guys like Nikias and Steve Jones, how they do their live game tweet threads.
They're the best.
They're the best. Yeah. But like I was doing that for the Bulls games, where I was just like, and to see the thing is like, what's kind of cool about it, like in my mind, what I wanted to do is like I wanted to do a full like basketball broadcast in a tweet thread. And like by me doing these tweet threads, because by the end of the game, I might have had thread with like 40 tweets in it. That like I didn't realize it at the time, but that was giving me kind of like the reps to actually be able to write like anywhere between like a 500 and 1,000 word article, because I kept doing all these threads.
Yeah. I think with the Twitter Premium, I probably can just write as long as I want on a post, but it's just like ingrained in my head to keep it quick. But before I had that, like I was doing a couple threads here and there, or like I would take an article that I wrote and like put it into like, a paragraph per, like into thread form, and people seem to like it. That'd be something to do too. I like that. I like just putting it right out there on Twitter. Like there's no, that's what I've been doing. It doesn't really, it's not a lot of money in it. So there's probably, if I wanted like to make money off any of this stuff, I'm sure there's a better way to do it. But I do like just kind of having it right there and just kind of interacting with people right off the bat, Yeah,
it's good for building up the community, right? And again, like, I mean, just the fact I can sit here and talk to you, and like, I just decided one day I just want to talk about basketball. I want to talk about the Bulls, but then like, let me just keep talking about the NBA on greater and greater scales. And like, I think it's just one of those things where if you put it out in Twitter, I mean, the people will come and people will vibe. And like, I do just want to quickly shout out, because like, I want to shout out Jay here. Jay has been like rocking pretty much this whole episode and dropped a couple of comments in here. And Jay had a question for you, Brett, and said, have you ever worked with any teams or players to put together a certain skill compilation, I guess, for the team?
No, I never have. I mean, I've had players like hit me after I've maybe made a compilation on them, but like, but I've never done one specifically based on any kind of request or anything like that. I haven't yet worked with teams or players. So no, it's just kind of just organic, sort of like whatever comes to mind. And now I get all these requests and suggestions. So I need to start keeping like an actual list of ideas, because now I'm getting bombarded with people. And it's awesome because a lot of the ones that I've made recently have been off, other people's ideas. So keep them coming, but just know that some of them take a lot of time to do. I can only do so many. Like, I got kids. I'm pretty busy. So I'd kind of just do it in my free time. Like, how because a lot of times people will be like, how do you find the time to do all this? And it's like, some people play video games or like watch TV shows or like, you name the hobby. This is what I do instead of that. This is like my video games or my TV shows. Like, if I have a free hour, like I just dive into some film on a player, maybe put together a compilation. So I kind of just do it in my free time, but I do appreciate all the suggestions. So that's where most of my ideas either come from, just something that if I'm watching a game, and I see a guy do something, I might be like, like he does that a lot. Or like, does he do that a lot? Let me check. Like, let me see. Is that something, and go with that. Or I'll just, or again, just a player I want to highlight that's been playing well or is interesting for whatever reason. Or else it's just, I've just been getting these requests on Twitter, and a lot of those have led to some pretty cool videos. So, but no,
yeah, I was going to mention, in a lot of ways, like when I look at how like your tweets progress over like any like random NBA day, maybe if this is, I mentioned up front, like I think you're the king of the highlight reels. You also might be like the first and only like NBA Twitter DJ. Like it really is like you have the mixtapes and you get like the requests like people at the club almost, and then you drop the mixtape. The mixtape, like that's to me, like those are the tweets I love the most, where it'd be like, hey homie, I need that, I need that Austin Reeves, like
yeah,
2 dribble pull up or something. Like I just love when I see those tweets.
It's cool. I mean, honestly, like a lot of the ones where I just quote tweet like a request are I already had the video made. Like I posted it 4 months ago or 3 months ago, and somebody asked for it. I'm like, all right, that gives me a cool opportunity to just run it back, because it's like, which I'm not ashamed to do, because again, a lot of these take hours to make. If I might, maybe 3-4 months later, I'm going to reshare it, and that's a good opportunity to do it. But if it's something quick, like if somebody's just asking for like a single game highlights, or like the thing yesterday with Jake LaRavia, like I can throw that together pretty quick and get it out pretty fast. And a couple of times, like I've actually taken, I've gotten a request and been like, yeah, that's a great call, I need to do that. And I'll take the time, and then I'll quote tweet them with that. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun. I just love interacting with people, and it's just been so cool to see how many people are into the same stuff as me when it comes to basketball. Because again, like that's all I'm really doing is posting the stuff that I'm interested in, that I would find interesting if somebody else was posting it. Like I want to be like, I would be my favorite Twitter account if if it wasn't me, like that type of thing. But yeah, it's been cool. It's been a fun little journey. I was tweeting into the void for 2 years. Like I had 50 followers for like the longest. And
when did you get started, like just specifically tweeting hoops?
I mean, I don't know when I actually created my account, but I started using Twitter in August of 2021. Like that would have been my first tweet. And then again, for like that first year, I probably had like 50 followers. And then the next year, I don't know if I got to like 1,000. And then it started growing a little bit more. And then I think it was like, I might have had 20,000 this past January 1st. And now it's over 100. Like, so it's just, It's been crazy, man. It's been like overwhelming, like in a good way, but hard to keep up with like some of the follow backs and like this and that. But it's been, I do my best. I really do. And it's been fun. Never thought I'd be like on podcasts and, interacting with some of the people that I have, and, DMing with like NBA players. Like it's been cool, man. Like it's been as like a hoop junkie, it's been a cool experience. So say what you want about X, like I get it, but I've had a pretty cool experience on there, and that's because that's really the only platform I'm on now.
Okay. Cool. Well, actually, yeah. I was gonna say like yeah, probably like I feel like that's just a perfect spot to kind of wrap it up. But definitely appreciate you being on. And then yeah, just plug where you are, anything people should know about.
Ah, nah, I mean, really, like, really, just that's really all I got going on in the hoops world right now, man. Like, just check me out on X. It's just the only platform I'm on. I have some stuff, some ideas I want to get going. I'll let people know when if and when I do that. But for now, just just give me a follow if you haven't already, and I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely second that. I think Brett, man, I think you're one of the best followers out there on X. It's a funny app some days. It's just wild stuff on there, but like
Yeah, it
you
is.
like you are just like a standard timeline cleanser, if nothing else. But also like you just put together great, amazing NBA content. So really appreciate, man, being able to chop on with you, man, for this evening. Just great stuff, man. Thank you so much. And I will also just say thank you again to Jay. Jay's our first ever commenter. So Jay, definitely please like this
Shout out,
video,
Jay.
subscribe, tell your friends about this, come back again for the next episodes. I'm on X as well. Narratives per possessions on X and narratives per 75. You can also follow me on X at MoBanks10 on the personal account, and we're on Patreon as well. Please join the Patreon community because I drop all these podcast episodes out there, but we have a weekly newsletter and when time permits, when I have some time to actually write as well, like I do like to put columns out there occasionally, and just a lot of random content as well. Like just trying to, on my end, also just build up like cool stuff that I think is interesting and put good quality conversation out there about hoops, stuff on the positive side. So with all that, yeah, thank you again, Brett. Really appreciate having you on tonight. And thanks to everybody who listens now or in the future. And again, please join our narrative per possession community on Patreon.
Thanks,
And with
man.
that,
Great talking to you, man.
absolutely. Love to have you back on.
For sure.
Yeah, because it's like we didn't get to talk about the draft, but like I know we can talk like hours probably about all kinds of basketball stuff. I can tell like you like you said, you're a hoops junkie. So love to have you back on.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, man.